Hello, everyone. Thanks for joining us. This is Sippin' Tea with Nat and Z. I'm Nat.
And I'm Z.
How are you on this day, post-election?
I am still taking it all in. I had stopped watching the news. So right prior to the day of the election, I just basically shut all news channels off. I told my husband, I don't want you to put no damn Roland Martin on. I don't want to hear Tariq Nasheed and his bullshit. I don't want to hear none of these Twitter pundits. Just turn it all off. I didn't really go on social media. I kind of just distanced myself from everything. It was just a form of self-care for me.
Definitely.
And then and that night I went to bed. I woke up in the middle of the night to go to the bathroom. I looked, I said, oh, this bullshit's still going on. Rolled right back over and woke up the next morning. And I said it in a Facebook post. I felt a sense of calm when I woke up because I knew in that moment, whatever is going to be done is going to be done. Right. I did my part. I voted. So, moving forward, I cannot control this situation. Yeah. So I have to let it go and just be at peace with whatever the outcome is going to be. And I think that helped drive, my anxiety down, and it pushed me, through the week. And I just started watching the news, I think maybe Friday-ish. And only because of the memes. If the memes weren't popping, I still probably wouldn't have turned on the news.
This is on fire. I feel you. Like with my week, I mean, I have insomnia, so watching the news and stuff didn't necessarily bother me per se. But if I was watching or listening, I was painting or playing a game, trying to balance out whatever else was going on. And that kind of helped me not necessarily have any type of angst. Other than if I would see certain things on television, which would annoy me, and then I would just go walk out the room or go watch a Hallmark movie or something like that, So, it's been interesting. And this is kind of we kind of broke into that because the title of our episode today is post-election stress. And we definitely, just because we had to think about how are we taking care of ourselves mentally and the anxiety that came with this, because just because election is over, there's definitely going to be some lingering stress. Going into this week, it's Veterans Day. I want to give a shout out to our vets. It's on November 11th. Thanks you for your service.
I was about to do the gunshots. Book, book, book. But then I thought maybe PTSD, that's not that good of an idea.
Yeah, it's all relative. It's all relative. It's all relative. So I want to give a shout out to my hubs for that. And thinking about all the angst that could be coming with that going into Veterans Day, dealing with the election and everything that has to do with that. It's building up to be a period of time where there's going to be a lot of stress now in the holidays, and there's just so much stuff. So all of those things can combined with election stress in and of itself is a lot. But
Absolutely. So let's get into the tea of the day. We are not tea experts. You should speak to your doctor when drinking herbal tea, as there are potential side effects when mixed with some medications. Herbal tea should not be a substitute for medication. We are not affiliated with any of these companies, nor are these endorsements. So what tea do we have on the table today?
So today we're looking at a particular type of tea, rooibos, but it's a latte version that we're going to give you a little ingredients and a recipe, if you will. So rooibos, just so you guys know, is a caffeine-free content. And so it's good for insomniacs like myself, which is nice. If it actually helps. Some days it does for me and other days it doesn't, but I encourage you all, if you have those late sleepless nights with the stress going on, definitely check it out. It relaxes you, it calms you down, it just kind of gives you a little piece of zen. So one of the recipes that we're going to give you is what you will need is some rooibos tea, loose or in tea bags. We are fans of loose leaf tea here.
Yes, we are.
Yes. And use a tea filter, and then some vanilla extract, milk, honey, and cinnamon are always lovely. Get yourself a milk frother.
Yes.
They're always so lovely.
Hold on. Before we even go into the actual recipe for this, my sister bought me a milk frother for Christmas last year. This has changed my life. The milk frother is just like the best thing
Note
that
to
has ever
self,
happened.
get a
And
milk
it's
frother.
not expensive. It
Mhm.
really is not expensive. I be frothing everything, okay? Frothing shit that don't even need to be frothed just because. Okay? So I'm just telling
Oh,
you, if you don't
nice.
have a milk frother, get that in your life.
Get your okay. I'm gonna look into that. I'm gonna report back on how it could change my life as well. So you could use 2/3 cup water for a teaspoon loose rooibos tea or 3 rooibos tea bags. But like we said, loose leaf is the way. Half a teaspoon of vanilla extract, which we all love. I just love the smell of it. Some 2 cups milk, 2 teaspoons of honey, and for some garnish, some cinnamon maybe. So exact instructions: boil your water, steep your rooibos for about 5 minutes. And that's one thing I think when we talk about our teas, different teas require different
Yes.
steeping times,
Mm-hmm.
and some is 5 minutes, some are 10 minutes, and depending on how you got to develop the flavor, and then also the temperature of the water. We can go into that on another like tea mechanic show or something like that, and how that
Yes.
affects how the tea develops and all that. So you can add a little bit of honey and some vanilla extract. Heat and froth your milk. You know, is there any tips you have for milk frothing, Sarifa?
No, just heat it, froth it, get you one. I mean, it's just, I'm telling you, a frother will change your life. And there are some like coffee machines, like the more high tech,
Mm-hmm.
like, super like expensive
High end.
espresso
Mhm.
makers that probably has a milk frother in it. It's the same type of concept. If you go to Starbucks or any
Mhm.
coffee shop, the barista is in there frothing the milk. It's the same thing. It's just it's
Built
separate from
in.
the coffee. Yeah,
Right.
it's not built in. You're the one that you can purchase. I swear, it wasn't that expensive. So get you one. I'm telling you, it's gonna be a game changer.
All right now. Y'all hear
Yeah.
that now. Get you
Mm-hmm.
a milk frother. Change your life. So you use a milk frother, divide your tea bags and your cups and mugs and go to town and top it off with that frost milk and a little bit of cinnamon and enjoy. Those of you that let us know if you try it and if you went out and got a milk frother and if it changed your life. We'd love to hear.
Yeah.
So what else is going on with hot tea?
So it wasn't a lot of hot tea this week because the election just kind of took over the news coverage. And I think some people kind of just set their asses down and didn't cause any unnecessary,
Right.
bullshit to occur this week.
Right.
So there's not really a lot. Yesterday was Saturday Night Live
Mm-hmm.
and Dave Chappelle hosted, and it was pretty good. His opening monologue wasn't as scathing as I think some people were hoping for. Dave Chappelle's brand of comedy is like in your face truth,
Yes.
with a punchline behind it, and he even spoke to that during his monologue. A couple standout things to me, which was funny. I mean, he went in on Trump getting COVID. He went in on Chris Christie
Cool.
getting COVID. He went in. He reminded viewers, which is something that I think we'll definitely probably talk about when we're talking about post-election stress.
Mm-hmm.
Because I've seen this concept and this thought appear a lot, like on social media. He reminded viewers that ousting Trump doesn't mean the country is magically safer.
Mm.
Despite liberals feeling a sense of relief, he said, you asked what life was like before COVID. He was like, he noted a mass shooting every week. Anybody remember that? He's like, thank
Mm.
God for
There
COVID. He was like, it locked the crazy white people up. So, I mean, that made me laugh. He
Mm-hmm.
also got in a few digs at the white working class Trump voter. And he was like, I don't know why poor white people don't like wearing masks. What is the problem? You wear masks at the Klan rally, wear it at the Walmart too. So, I mean,
Oh Lord. Lord.
these are things, and I mean, if you know Dave Chappelle,
Yeah.
is definitely a polarizing
Yeah. Figure.
comedian.
Mm-hmm.
There are people who typically don't like his brand of
Mm-hmm.
humor because they think that it's still kind of condescending in a way, and it
Mm-hmm.
kind of still makes fun of disenfranchised groups. I mean, because he did say some stuff about women. I forgot what the joke, like how we got onto it, but he said something about he was talking about how the doctor, I forgot what the woman's name was,
Mm-hmm.
that was behind Trump when Trump was like giving all of these like remedies to get rid of COVID,
Oh,
like
that
direct
one.
light and direct sunshine and bleach. And he was like, and you saw that woman in the back, the white woman, like, and she's a doctor. She's like shaking her head in agreement. And he was just like, this is why women get paid half. He said, now you understand why women get paid half. He said, oh,
horrible.
not half. I'm sorry, 70%. He said, whatever it is, the shit's too much. So that
Totally
made me laugh.
polarizing.
Right. It made me laugh, but I can see how some people could be offended by it.
Definitely,
I thought the shit was funny because I don't believe, if you listen to Dave the comedian, and then if you've ever watched him being interviewed, like he's interviewed by David Letterman on Netflix.
Okay, yeah.
His comedy, it's not something that he really truly in his whole heart believes. It's just the truth. Women do get paid more, and I mean less.
Right.
And shit's funny.
It's
like
delivery. It's all about delivery.
And if you know Black people, we turn everything, every tragedy, every pain into a joke.
Oh,
so
it's a means of survival.
It is. So I appreciate Dave Chappelle because he stayed true. There are some comedians that I really liked that I don't like anymore because they're just not funny because they placate and they cater to being very politically correct. And it's more so for the money and not so for the integrity of the work that they're doing. And Kevin Hart is one of those comedians I just don't find funny anymore. His comedy was definitely hilarious in the beginning, but now it's not. And I understand we're in a world you can't make fun of this person, you can't make fun of this person or this group, but there's a way to still be able to deliver the truth without just taking all of the. There's still ways you could deliver the truth without seriously offending people.
You have to have some humor to get through that truth.
Right.
A lot of times.
I appreciate the fact that he hasn't wavered from that. So
he's very been consistent with his message.
Exactly. And then the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame, the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame, depending on how you look at it, maybe. The Rock and Roll Hall of Fame aired Saturday.
Okay.
No. Yeah, Saturday at 8. But it was on at the same time that Biden and Harris were giving their speeches.
Right.
So a lot of people probably missed it. We recorded it and then watched it back. So it was virtually held this year, which was a little bit of disappointment. It was a little lackluster for me because it lacked the performances. I have watched the Rock and Roll Hall of Fames in the past, and the best thing about it is watching these groups perform their songs or watching someone else perform it in honor of the inductee because that individual is no longer living. So, and it's good because some of these groups, they still beefing and, because of the beef, sometimes seeing them get on stage together is like, get it while you can get it. Cause this ain't gonna happen again.
Like ever.
So some of the more notable inductees this year, Whitney Houston, who I love. Don't nobody better talk bad about my Whitney. Biggie. 9 Inch Nails, the Doobie Brothers, and
just now?
Just now, and Depeche Mode. So,
wow.
I think it was a good class. But again, a little lackluster because we didn't get the performance, especially with 9 Inch Nails, because Trent Reznor and I forgot the other guy's name. They haven't really been on the same stage, and people were kind of looking forward to that. And so that didn't happen. And then people were thinking maybe they would even kind of have like these virtual performances that we've seen with other, like other award shows. That didn't happen either. So, that was unfortunate. And there's 2 more things that I do want to mention really quickly that just came to mind. The verses battles have kind of been subdued. They're calling this new rollout of battles, air quotes, the season 2. So apparently, the first versus battle is going to be between Jeezy and T.I., which I think is going to be really good, depending on if you follow both of their careers.
Right.
And then Swizz Beatz accidentally let it slip. I don't think he was supposed to say this, but there's apparently going to be a battle between Outkast and A Tribe Called Quest. So I'm really looking forward to that. I don't know when that's supposed to come out. And then Timberland teased something, but I don't know who these people. I don't know who this group is going to go up against. But he teased it's a possible Jodeci battle. Who Jodeci is going to battle? I don't know.
Show?
They could. I would like to see a New Edition versus New Edition battle.
Yeah.
NE versus NE. I
Yeah.
think that they may be the only group that can actually battle themselves
Right.
because it's New Edition with Bobby and New Edition with Johnny.
Yes. Yes.
So, but we'll see. We'll see. I'm looking forward to it. I think the new season, quote, is starting on the 19th of November, I believe. So
Okay. In time for the
we'll have a
holiday.
versus battle soon. Yes. So, yep, that's it. That's all the hot tea I got.
All right, great. So we're going to take a quick break, and when we come back, we're going to jump right in. I'm saying we're going to drop it like it's hot into that tea time segment. And we are back. So, as we had talked about before, this topic today is dealing with post-election stress. And, Z and I briefly touched on, everything that's been going on and how we've been dealing with, pretty much the uncertainty of everything that's been going on during and now we're going into the post part of this situation and this phenomenon that has had to go on for much longer than any of us anticipated. So these are unprecedented times and they're quite tumultuous, as we all know. A lot of me and you, me versus us, and we versus you type of mentality is going on. It's empowered a number of Americans, and some it's also on the other tip has made a lot of folks more prone to bullying and harassing, harming and excluding individuals, which of course, for the most part, none of us want, and we don't want to have these discussions, but it's the reality that these things are flowing into our life. So now as we're entering this next phase, we want something new and different. We need a time to kind of decompress. And what does that look like? A lot of times anything that's uncontrollable or stressful type of events that we, have to kind of use our fight or flight response for, they have a huge impact on us, on our physical, mental, and emotional health. And our folks with anxiety, it's a trigger for them. Some folks shut down and they don't know how to deal or talk to anybody regarding these times. But even another point of fact is this can definitely be that much more amplified for people of color, immigrants, people with disabilities, women, and our folks in the LGBTQI community, because of everything that's been going on up until this point, and where they're going to stand with their health care, with just their rights and being able to interact with each other. And it's just so many different things that are coming into play that can create that much more anxiety on top of just regular anxiety and stress for this time of year. So with that in mind, this type of stress is being actually classified as post-election stress disorder, PSD. And these symptoms come into play when you're looking at what are some of your triggers, and have you been able to figure out what those are? Do you know if you're suffering from them? And some of them you may have, and some of them you may not, or some of them you see in other people. And are you more fatigued from watching TV? Like Z had mentioned, she just shut down and just didn't look at different things because it's a lot. It's a lot of mental gymnastics. I know for me, I haven't lost sleep because of the politics, but I mean, I was up, so it can be a lot more taxing and subliminal and in my subconscious without me realizing it, and keeping me up and keeping other people up, because you always have it. You know what I mean?
Yep.
And it's just like on the 24-hour news, my husband and I go between CNN and MSNBC, and then occasionally put some cartoons in there, but that's on a cycle, and that can continuously play in the back of your mind. But then there's the other part. If you're that stressed, you could be really at odds with some of those in your circle or outside of your circle. Some folks that are on Facebook, people, now have put out who they may have been supporting the whole time and didn't say anything until now for fear of repercussions, perhaps. And then there's some folks, that didn't really care to say anything, and now it started to cause some anxiety and antagonistic feelings to other people that may not share your views, and what does that cause within your friends and your family? Because there's some, Thanksgiving's coming up, and people are going to have anxiety about the holidays anyway. And then you add this on top of it because Uncle so-and-so is not in the same political realm as you are in this house. And it can cause so much more angst to you as you're moving forward, And then one other thing I think is really important and Z can definitely speak to this, with the pundits on TV and on Twitter and on Facebook. Those things can kind of stoke so much much more rage or complacency or just worry. And these are folks that you didn't know who their names were because you're on a 24-hour cycle. And now these people have a view and you're walking around the kitchen upset because they said something that you didn't like and you don't know who those people were a week ago. And how do you manage all those things?
Right.
And Z, I know you mentioned something about the Twitter feeds and the pundits, when we were talking earlier,
Mm-hmm.
how to handle all of that.
Yeah, I mean, there's probably people listening and saying, well, I don't have post-election stress disorder. I
Mhm.
feel great. This is exactly the outcome that I was looking for, that I was hoping for, that I was expecting.
Mhm.
And, there are millions of people who feel that way. But, you still have to look at it in perspective. Like, I still have a level of stress for a variety of reasons. And that's because I'm typically an overthinker, but I also am very proactive. So I'm always constantly looking to the future, right? So I'm thinking about, well, what happens once January 20 hits?
Mhm.
There are a lot of executive orders that may have been in place that may have been harmful to the American people. Are those executive orders going to be rolled back?
Yep.
Is this going to be the I'm going to do what I want, type of administration where they're not
Mhm.
going to kind of work across the aisle to get
Yeah.
things done?
The
Or is this going to
transition.
be somebody, right, that's going to be, well, I'm just going to work with Mitch McConnell and he'll be the co-president, because he technically was co-president. Like, he
Mhm.
pretty much was the second chair in the
Right.
presidency. There's just a lot of angst and anxiety. I was talking to some of my friends recently. There's a Walmart in our area that I would go to. It's a super Walmart, and I would go do my grocery shopping there. And
Mm.
even, COVID, I would be strategic about going, right? And I don't go there anymore because I am fearful of the type of individuals that may show up, because it's in a heavily populated Trump supporter area. And those individuals tend to be a little bit more in your face, brazen with
Mhm.
their beliefs,
Yep.
and tend to be more willing to get into physical altercations
Altercation.
with you to
A little bit
show
more
you.
aggressive.
And let me tell you, there's a lot of growth, but I'm still Philly. And if y'all don't know how Philly is,
Yo,
turn on the TV and see these.
Philly.
You'll
Hey.
know how Philadelphians are now. You may not have known before, but you know now.
Y'all got dancing
And
mailboxes.
right, I'm not one to be sitting there recording you,
Mhm.
talking crazy to me. Ain't nobody gonna have video footage of it, because I'm gonna whoop your ass. Ain't gonna be no video. Somebody else can take.
Oh my
Somebody else might take some video of it. I'm not picking up no phone to record you. That's just
gosh. Right.
not in my nature.
Right.
It's not gonna happen. So those things just, worry me. The next 78 days, who knows what's going to happen in the next 78 days? I mean, we have just a lot of things that we have to kind of contend with and kind of just think about. And, you may not be stressed, but you may have friends or family members or loved ones who look at this and say, this is not the outcome that I hoped for. And so, because this is not the outcome that I hoped for, I am I have a lot of angst, a lot of anxiety. I have a lot of, just fear. So it's something to definitely take into consideration as we're moving forward. But, we've talked about some of the things that could cause you some stress, right? The outcome of the election, the fact that the final counts still haven't come through. We had these technical counts, but the electoral college hasn't done the official, these votes are going to this candidate,
Right.
right?
And certified.
um exactly. So there's still a lot of wait and see. We know Monday morning there's probably going to be a slew of lawsuits that are going to come down the pipeline. So there is
Mhm.
some stress about where are we all going to be
Yeah.
when the dust settles.
Yeah.
How many lawsuits? You know, is it going to be a race war? Is it going to be a coup? Is this man literally
Right.
going to have the military come in and drag his ass out
Right.
and throw his shit out on the lawn like the sheriffs do when you get evicted. I don't know. I don't
Right.
know. You know what I mean? I
It's a
don't know.
lot. It's a
It's a
lot.
lot.
And I think
So,
there's also, when you're saying about the race war part, unfortunately, that these times have really have revealed where people may stand that you
mm-hmm,
didn't know that they stood that way until they went into
right.
the ballot box.
Mm-hmm,
And then that added stress, like you said, and you trying to wonder, well, is that person, are we really cool? Are we not cool? Or how are they
right.
feeling about this? And am I going to lose a whole bunch of people on my friend list, or am I going to have people added? And some people
Mm-hmm,
really have stress about those things.
right. And then if you look at the exit polling and you started to look at the breakdown
Hmm.
as to who voted what way, it's very telling,
Yeah.
of this country. And that's why it's like, yeah, if your candidate won, that's great. If your candidate lost, you'll get over it.
Yeah.
But it's still polarizing, right? You still see the numbers, the amount of people that voted for either candidate. And if you are a Trump supporter, you're looking at the number of people that voted for Biden and you're like,
Hmm.
whoa, that's a lot of people. And
Hmm.
if you're a Biden supporter, you're looking at it like, whoa,
Whoa.
that's a lot of people that voted for Trump. And then there's one last thing that I want to say as well. You also have to keep in mind, I know you're still probably thinking, well, I'm not stressed. But here's the thing, there are a lot of people who aren't celebrating because of the Biden Harris victory,
Hmm.
like in sense of these were my candidates and I voted for them because these were my candidates. There's a
Right.
lot of people that are just happy right now that Trump is not going to be their president anymore.
Right.
And so because of that, there's still people who have a lot of angst and anxiety because they just don't know
Hmm.
where they're going to fare out in all of
And
this.
where they fit.
Right. And I think this is especially specific to people of color
Mhm.
because the color of the person that's in office is still the same. I mean, I don't understand why white people are in arms if you are a Trump supporter. The person in office is still white. Like
Yeah.
what are you fighting for
I
yourself?
know.
Like what in your life is going to actually change? Nothing, probably nothing.
Mm-mm.
Nothing is going to change, and nothing really ever changes, regardless of who's in the office
Right.
for white people. The people who tend to get
The short end of the stick.
screwed or the short end of the stick tend to be people of color, people with disabilities, the LGBTQ community.
Hmm.
Who else? Women.
Women. Yes.
So those are the groups that tend to have a lot more stress weight on them because they
Hmm.
know that the policies that get enacted definitely will have a stronger impact
Hmm.
on them than of anybody else.
Exactly. Just like
And
COVID.
right, just like COVID, just like COVID. I mean, and here's the thing. Now we're getting into the realm of we have COVID, we have a new presidency. What's going to happen with that?
Yeah.
How are we going to move forward with COVID? Is this administration going to take a hard stance and say, hey, federal mandate, you wear your mask? You know what I mean? I don't care where you are. Do you
Yeah.
know how many people are going to be up in arms
Of
about that?
course. And then
Taking
those
into
the
the streets?
exactly, and the kids being in school or not in school, and
Right. The stress is if I feel like, and I'm not coming at anybody, but I feel like you are maybe a bit naive if you think that the stresses are just going to automatically disappear
yes.
now that there's a new administration
Hmm.
in office,
It's
because
just
they're not.
mm-mm.
Because the same problems that plague these disenfranchised groups will still be there, and
Yes.
actually they're more amplified now because of the previous administration.
Hmm.
I said this in a group chat, and I truly believe this. People can look at the Trump administration as the Empire Strikes Back. This administration is more Return of the Jedi. We're in at Rise of the Skywalker. If you're a Star Wars
Right.
fan, you understand that.
Right.
We ain't Rise of the Skywalkers. We're not at that point yet. But
Right.
this is more of Return of the Jedi.
And it was on
So,
this weekend too.
right. So just keep that in mind because honestly, I mean, I'm at peace in terms of whichever way this was going to shake out because at the
Hmm.
end of the day, I knew that the stresses that I feel and the stressors that are in my life in terms of my family, my future, my
Right.
daughter,
All of those things.
those things will still be there. So how are we going to work through those things?
Yeah.
So, and that's good because that brings us into managing all of this stress, right?
Yes.
And I just want to make a quick note. And no matter what your political leaning, we would be remiss if we didn't acknowledge the fact that history was actually made with this election. I mean, you had the first woman, the first Black woman, the first woman of Asian descent, the first woman of Jamaican descent, the first person to go to a HBCU. This is the first party that none of the candidates went to Ivy League. None. None. So if this is, and just on that alone, if this ain't the party of the people in terms of that, just what's on paper, definitely. I don't know what is. They both come from very middle class families, you know,
realistic, a little bit
very realistic families. I mean, you have Kamala Harris is a late bloomer. She, you know, got married late. She, you know, is in a blended family. She's a stepmom. And then you have Joe Biden, second marriage because of what happened tragically to his wife, you know, his first wife. He has a son who's dealing with addiction that he's still trying to love through, you know, all of that. He has a son that died tragically from brain cancer. I mean, so these are things and common things that we all can kind of relate to and identify with. So we would be remiss if we just didn't mention that. But
and Vice President is our sorority sister. We just
yes, got to yes. And so, you know, for this past week, the nation has pretty much just been under siege and in a constant state of flux, right? There was pre-election anxiety. Yes. There was during election anxiety. And now there's post-election anxiety and stress. Because, you know, again, there's lawsuits coming. There's, you know, there's allegations of voter fraud. And, you know, you got people going to having conferences at the Four Seasons Landscaping in between adult bookstore and a crematorium. Wow. So, I mean, it's just, this week has been crazy. You got people in Philadelphia dressed up like mailboxes, dancing in the street.
I mean, was one of my favorite things to watch, y'all.
This is mind-blowing. This has been
unicorns.
So, you know, we know that there's still going to be this huge legal fight that's going to be ongoing for the future. And this is not going to be, people, your Bush v. Gore. No. It's going to be something we have never seen, right?
Level. Just like everything else in 2020.
Exactly. I mean, 2020 has shown its ass. And that is why I'm hesitant to be anything, but anything can happen because we've seen it. 2020 will show you that anything can happen. Don't get comfortable. So regardless of what your political leanings are, we all can find ways to cope better with stress and to fine tune our skills and efforts in doing so. I mean, that's just key. And again, you know, one of the underlying themes of our podcast is self-care. Yes. And, you know, you will hear that probably throughout every episode that we have. Self-care is so key. So what are some things that you can do to manage any level of stress you have right now? Acknowledge when you need help. If you're not coping well, reach out to a primary care provider or mental health professional to discuss your feelings.
And they're online now.
Yes, they are. Talkspace. There's virtual appointments. Yes. So important. And again, I know I've said this before. Black folk, we like to just be like, I'm going to church. I'm going to pray on it. You could do that. But what's my saying? Give it to God and give a copay. That's all I'm saying.
I love it.
That's all I'm saying.
You're going to put that on a t-shirt.
Yes. You can channel your stress into something positive. So you can make donations to causes that you believe in, or you can volunteer time with an organization you support. So right now, I know a lot of people who I've talked to discuss some of the stresses that they're facing. Some of the ways that they're channeling it is like, I want the Senate to flip. So I'm going to put all my efforts into doing whatever I can to assist with the 2 campaigns in Georgia to get those Senate seats to flip, right? And or I know some people are like, you know what? I'm going to see if I can just volunteer my time at like a homeless shelter or a soup kitchen because, you know, the holidays are coming and there's probably people who have been displaced even more now because of COVID and them losing their jobs. So let me see what I can do. I know we tend to have that, try to find ways to give back around the holiday Christmas season. I have some ideas for what our tribe can do instead of giving each other's gifts like we do, where we can best put our efforts at this holiday season. Another way that you can kind of manage this post-election stress is monitor how much news you consume.
Yes. Don't have
And
it
I
on 24
cannot,
7.
yes, don't. Like Natalie
Mm-mm.
was saying earlier, like even when you don't think you're being affected by it,
It's
just
there.
having it on, it it
It's
does seep
playing.
into your brain.
Mm-hmm.
Like I don't know how many people ever slept with the TV on. There are times I've slept with the TV on, and it ain't been a good show to sleep with the TV on. With
Mm-hmm.
like
Yes.
Unsolved Mysteries or the First 48,
Yeah,
I
that
be
all that.
waking up like, what
Mm-mm.
the hell?
No, no Walking Dead over here because that's what we'll worry about. And I'm like, what? Mm-mm. Mm-mm.
Exactly. And constant exposure to tragedy, political upheaval, and other news stories. I mean, yes, it may spark an interest and it may be something that you need to be aware of, but
Mm-hmm.
too much
It's
exposure
too
can
much.
exasperate anxiety, insomnia, and symptoms of trauma.
It's definitely.
I tortured myself the other day and decided to see what Fox News was over there talking about. Why I do that to myself? Why I do
Hello.
that to myself? Fox News will have you thinking that it is Armageddon, that you need to get your guns and your bullets.
Oh.
Like
That
Fox,
explains why that part of the country, that those believers of that particular political leaning arena are like that.
yeah, they were just, and then they were talking about Hillary Clinton, and I'm like, what the
Why?
hell? Exactly.
Why was she
So,
talking about that?
and it was giving me anxiety and stress, and I was angry, and I was like, why am I doing this to myself? I turned the TV
Yes,
off.
that's the decisive.
Yes. Set and maintain boundaries around political conversations. And Nat mentioned this earlier. The holiday seasons are coming. You're going to go home for Thanksgiving, and Uncle Joe might be, a Republican, but a moderate Republican. And then Aunt Sally might be a Trump supporter. And then
Mm-hmm.
cousin Mikey is a Bernie Sanders, ride or die. And then,
Mm-hmm.
and then you have all of these political beliefs descending at one place at one
Yes.
time. Look, don't discuss politics to convince anyone because you're
Yes.
not.
That's not.
I've never had a conversation with somebody about my political beliefs and I've changed their mind. It's
Mm-hmm.
never happened. Okay. So you can do it to get a better understanding of why that person believes what
Right.
they believe.
Some insight.
Right. But to try to convince them to change their mind, impossible. So
Right.
don't do it.
Let it go.
Um,
Let it go.
exactly. If your family is just going to keep on talking about it, set up some ground rules before conversations so no one feels attacked or gets angry.
Yeah.
But again, that's kind of difficult because
Yeah. People gonna say what they're gonna
they're going to say what they
say.
want to say.
Mm-hmm.
They're going to say what they want to say. And this isn't just for the holidays, this is in general.
Right.
Like, just set some ground rules. Be wary of social media triggers.
Oh,
Do not read the comments.
those trolls. No matter what side you're on, the trolling.
Man,
Get your blood pressure up if you get in there, get sucked in too much.
hello, good morning. Yes, indeed. Try not to react impulsively and take a break a bit.
Mm-hmm.
Because I'm telling you, if you're a common sense individual, and common sense is not just a liberal thing or a conservative thing. Common sense should just be a people thing. And
Mm.
if you look at things from a common sense perspective, you would realize that all of this extra noise and BS is just that.
Noise.
So reading the comments, you're only going to get
Mm.
the fringe of both sides.
Yes.
You're going to get like the super like uber liberals and you're going to get the super uber conservatives,
Conservative.
and their views are going to be so far from each other that the
Mm.
comments will have you thinking like, oh my god, where is this world coming to? Don't
Mm-hmm.
stop reading the comments. Okay.
Back out
um
quickly.
yes. Now, show kindness. Now this is one of the more controversial, I would say, self-care tips. And the reason why I say that is because a lot of people like, I ain't showing no kindness. F them Trump supporters. Yeah, I care. I ain't showing no kindness. F Biden. I don't care. He stole the election. I don't care. Them Trump
Mm.
supporters ain't. And I understand that, right? And I'm not saying to maybe show kindness in that arena, but maybe just randomly do something nice for somebody.
In general.
Maybe you're in a Starbucks line. Pay for the person's drink behind you.
Mm-hmm.
Do
That
some
person is
goodwill.
maybe going through the angst and the stress we're
Right,
talking about, and they don't know how else to express that because they think that all a particular party leans one way or another.
right.
Folks are supposed to be opponents, not enemies.
Mm-hmm.
in this. And I think that's something that
Is lost.
yes, has been
We lost
lost.
that.
And the
Mm-hmm.
kindness factor, just in general, people are out here struggling and they're angry and they're upset. I think the anger is kind of what pushes that, what you were saying, Z, and showing that kindness to yourself to let your blood pressure calm down,
Mm-hmm.
and then show that kindness to someone else.
Yeah. I mean, just try it. And again, we say this all the time. Don't forget about self care.
Hmm.
Create healthy habits. You can meditate. You can go and take a walk into nature. This week in this area where we live, it's going to be in the 70s for a few days. I'm going out with my family later on this afternoon just to get some fresh air, just to take a walk.
Hmm.
Um, Thankfully, we live in a pretty progressive liberally populated area.
Yes.
So I don't feel as though I'm going to go out and encounter a Trump supporter. However, a sister is getting her gun license on Monday because I ain't with the bullshit. Okay, let me tell
Philly.
you, run up, you get done up. I'm just letting you know.
That's how Philly do.
um, but you can read a book, you know, work on a hobby. I'm
Hmm.
working on a few hobbies right now.
I'm painting.
Um, Avoid using alcohol or drugs to cope. I, I, eh, I'm gonna say
That may
in
be up for
excess.
debate.
Yeah, I'm gonna say
And
in excess.
excess.
In
Yes, I
excess.
approve that. I approve that message.
Now, because a bitch drank 3 bottles of wine election day. So I'm just saying, and for some people that might be excess, but mind your business, okay? I'm
That
grown.
part, mind your
My
business,
daughter
and
was safe. She was asleep. I could do the fuck I want to do.
and you in your own house, minding your business.
So, okay,
I love it.
I'm
I
just
love
saying.
it.
And the 3 bottles wasn't all at once. I started early and
You
ended
just
late.
right.
You
That's
don't need to know how early, because
right.
again, that's not your business.
No, mind yours. Just know I'm good over here.
Exactly.
Thank you kindly.
Exactly. Um, get enough sleep and exercise.
Whew, one day.
Whew, and eat a healthy diet. I will say my exercise game has improved
Hmm.
dramatically during the time of COVID, and especially as we like rounded out to the last few weeks of the election season.
Hmm.
It was a way to manage stress.
Yeah.
So I would just be working out, working out, working out. And now I actually
Enjoy
I'm
it.
not gonna say I enjoy it, but I don't mind it. I'm at the
Right.
I don't mind it stage. I don't mind getting up
It's
and just
part of your day.
exactly.
Yeah.
It's like, okay, let me
Yeah.
just get this out the way and go about my
The
business.
girls in our tribe have been doing so well with this.
Yes, we
They've been
have.
hanging. I don't know when we started it. Um,
But well,
yeah,
very well.
but it's been great. You know, folks are
Right.
coming along and losing weight and getting
Mm-hmm.
healthy and just being mindful. And we have check in and
Yes.
stuff like
Accountability
that. So,
partners.
yeah.
Yes.
So
So
I think it's definitely something that, and that's like maybe something to do.
mm-hmm.
As far as having your as a way to with whoever your group is, whatever side of the aisle that you're on, that's a definite way to, look into that and hold each other accountable. It'll distract you, and maybe it'll help you sleep better,
Mm-hmm.
So it's definitely something to think about. And, with all that Z has said, the bottom line of everything that we've been saying is, we know it's going to be a time of anxiety and stress. We've all been emotionally invested in some way, shape, or form. We've been sitting here thinking and, or not thinking, trying to just distract ourselves. Some habits that we may have developed over this time and being a couch potato, and not to say and take away from you being involved as a civil servant or just as an American and being involved in this civic process, which is amazing and I think is awesome. Because I will say the amount of folks that turned out this time to vote has been more than any other time in the history of elections, to my knowledge. And, folks are becoming civically engaged. They're knowing their rights, they're learning, they're educating. So I think, thinking of that on different levels and how you're involved and how passionate you are about your particular view, take a step back and try to think about how can I be compassionate, that Z referenced earlier. Later in life, when we're on our deathbed, are we really going to regret disagreeing with somebody about this and being up in arms about how you felt about this, that, and the other, and causing that extra stress for yourself that may have drove you to an early grave because you were sitting there stressing about it for what? Just take that time and fall back. And, even more so with the people that you love, do you want to be at odds with them because they're still your family, friends, coworkers, what have you, whatever, whoever you love? Is it worth it to be that divisive between you and your counterparts? I don't think it is, but you need to sit down and take a time and take a step back and figure out how can I process this differently. And then honestly, this should like give you a pause, some time to pause and think about how can these next few months going into this next, administration and then for the following time is going to what are some ways you can better your life? How you become more informed, how do you become more active? Do you want to go and run for office? Do you want to become a volunteer? Do you want to see different things lobby through Congress? You can start writing letters, and if you're in angst and maybe you're upset about things, make a list of things that are upsetting you that you think you can change locally, and then become on the state level and then federally, and work your way up. Participate, maybe if you're participating in peaceful demonstrations to support whatever cause you may have, writing letters to officials in your local government, um, because at the end of the day, also we got to think about, yes, this was a national election, but we also have local officials that affect you directly on a much more expeditious level than what will be happening on a national level. So also thinking about that and your particular area where you live. And it's interesting to also think, well, how is this affecting my health, my mental health? And Z, referred to that earlier. Really got to take some time out. And if you're finding yourself really angry and upset, go and call somebody with the resources that we mentioned earlier, and focus on parts of your life that you can control. Like we are talking about, we go and exercise. Some of us have developed hobbies, bike riding. I know it's about to get cold for some of you. Do some puzzles. I don't know, read a book, whatever. Some of the suggestions that we mentioned earlier. And you really have to realize we've already done what we can do. And the
Yep.
election's come and gone. We voted. There's, the midterm elections that, getting people are getting ready for in the next coming year or so, the runoff that, as you mentioned, and how to become politically active. Just think about some other positive ways to take that energy that you're having and put it into some things that have so make you feel make you feel good and can help out others as we're coming out of this election season. And understand, don't beat yourself up if you're still stressing, because there's a lot
Mm-hmm.
that there's been to stress about,
A lot.
and a lot to come and to process moving forward,
Right. Right.
so.
Oh, yeah, that was a lot. But hey, we're gonna get through it. We gonna make
Mm-hmm.
it. We gonna make
Make
it.
it, make it, we gonna make it.
So we're gonna take a quick break and then come back with our last sip of the day. And we're back. This is the last sip of tea with your hood Dalai Lama. Let us not seek the Republican answer or the Democratic answer, but the right answer. Let us not seek to fix the blame for the past. Let us accept our own responsibility for the future. And that is contributed to John F. Kennedy. And I think that is a good quote because, again, we've been talking about this. Doesn't matter if you're a Democrat or Republican, a Libertarian, if you're grass party, whatever.
Mm-hmm.
This is a good time for us to just take a pause and just think about what is best for everyone,
Mm-hmm.
and not be so divisive and not be so antagonistic to one another, not put out more hatred. Let's find ways to just move forward,
Mm-hmm.
heal, and then continue the good fight to make sure that everybody is represented equally and fairly in our government. That's it.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. So thanks, Z. Those are some poignant words that I think we all need to kind of take back and reflect on. And thank you all for joining us this week on Sippin' Tea with Nat and Z. You can follow us on Instagram at Sippin' Tea, Nat and Z _pod, and on Facebook, on facebook.com/Sippin' Tea, Nat and Z. To get information on our upcoming podcast topics, guests, and news. Thank you so much for listening. See you next episode where we will be discussing when to leave the party, the job, and the relationship. Thanks. Take care.
Have a good week.